Hey, I'm Arthi, and today we'll be going through some exercises that you can use to strengthen your voice as well as your ears, or just explore these two instruments. And also just introducing some apps that can be found on an iPhone or an Android. These apps will be used for the actual exercises we'll be doing.
Before we really get into these exercises, maybe have a think about the voice. What parts of the body are active when making sound? Maybe the first thing that comes to your mind is the lips, the mouth, maybe the tongue. Feel free to use your hands to trace around the jaw, around the neck, maybe even up towards your ears. And notice the small distance there is between the thing that makes the sound and the thing that captures it and brings it back to the same space which created the sound in the first place, our brain. If you'd like to, you could explore rolling your head around and feeling into the different parts of the neck. Feel free to continue with this motion or come to a stillness and maybe close your eyes if you like. Sometimes you might find using the voice quite hard as it's got very little visual references. It might be hard to hear something and then reproduce it with your voice. So a lot of it comes from a sense of feeling, intuition or imagination, or even just actively listening and honing in on those aspects. By the same token, it could also be quite easy for you. You could find yourself practicing a lot more because it's so accessible, and it could actually be more liberating than having to pick up an instrument and learn it. This also means that every day can be quite different. Because the voice is connected to your body, it is so dependent on what you eat, how you're feeling, maybe what time you woke up, have you had enough sleep? So maybe take a second to check in and see where you're at today. When I started using my voice for singing, the first language I probably sung in was Sanskrit, which led me to learn Hindustani vocal techniques later down the track, some of which we'll be using today.
If you haven't already, feel free to open your eyes and check in. At this point, you can start to hum a natural tone, something you can sustain for a long time, so make sure it's comfortable. And slowly we'll work towards identifying what this note is to help your practice. Continue humming while I introduce the next section.
Hindustani classical music puts the voice at the top of their musical instrument hierarchy, much like the piano is for Western classical music. They notice that no matter what instrument you pick up in the future, there is a tendency to vocalize or mimic, so it seems pretty apt to start here. And speaking of apps, here is a favorite of mine. These apps emulate the sound of a tanpura, an instrument that has multiple strings and a really long resonance that can be micro-tuned to the intricacies of Indian rag music. So this aspect will help you to improve awareness of pitch over time when you get more familiar with it. Let me show you around this one. This is Tanpura Droid, a simplified app that features a speed changer, key changer, microtonal pitch adjustments, meaning it can finely tune between what we consider two tones. So have a play around with the volume and the speed and find something that suits you. First string in this exercise should be at sa, which is the same as do, or the first note of a scale. Now have a go at moving through the list of pitch and find the note that you were humming before, something relatively natural. If you're finding it difficult to identify which note you're singing, maybe try a keyboard app or a guitar or a piano and play around to find out what note you're singing. If you're working with a Apple phone, there are two apps called iTanpura or iTabla Pro or Lite. This has a surpeti, which is a long synthesized tone that can help to identify what note you're singing. And once you have this note, it will help to keep your voice there so that you can exercise and train your ear to stay in pitch. Now begin to hum with the drone on. Maybe even move into a gentle vowel sound of the same pitch. Know that this can usually change from day to day or even from morning to afternoon. Explore moving closer and further away from this tone. Then settle back into singing as close as possible to the note you hear. This might mean softening the voice. It might mean simply closing your eyes, or really focusing on the voice and the drone and putting everything else aside for now. It is recommended to practice this exercise for at least 15 minutes, which is perfect for iTanpura Lite because it turns off automatically at that time. Now start adding another note and simply oscillate or move between the two notes. What does it feel like to hear another note on this drone? Listen carefully. Does it have a texture? Can you play with this and move the mouth? Maybe move into a different shape of the mouth now, or a different vowel sound. Do this slowly so you can really find some spaces that resonate with you in this moment. Perhaps here you can find a quality of this second note that comfortably sits inside the Tanpura drone. Stay here for a little while. Maybe pick up one more note and experiment with that. Continue warming up the voice and moving curiously note by note until some inspiration comes. That might mean staying on one note for a little longer, or perhaps starting to create short tunes. If you do want to move into a little melody or a little tune, perhaps repeat it over and over again and notice the slight differences, the length of your breath, or the different sort of tonal qualities that come up. If staying on one note is better right now, challenge yourself by lengthening the note as long as possible and maintain a straight steadiness with your pitch. See the differences between the beginning of your breath, the middle of your breath, and right at the end. Now, after using your voice for such a long time, have you noticed any ease, any changes in your voice? Has it become more difficult? Move towards relaxing the neck muscles and feeling a sense of ease in the rest of the body. Feel free to keep exploring this activity for 15 minutes more. By now, you would have just begun to open the voice. You will know if you want to continue doing these exploratory practices or perhaps move on to something else. Over time, you will see an improvement in your sense of pitch by really listening and matching to outside sounds or references. Perhaps try match your voice to say something a bit louder outside, like a car, a plane flying by, or even trucks beeping, maybe some other instruments that you have, or someone else's voice.
Have a go at practicing this now on your own. The key to this practice is repetition for long periods of time and curiosity. All the best.